My wife said I wasn't ambitious enough. So she left me for her boss. I bought the company a year later. My name is Ronan Max. I'm 38 years old and I live in downtown Seattle. Until recently, I was a senior software engineer at a mid-sized tech company, content with my steady paycheck and the quiet life I'd built. I never thought of myself as particularly ambitious. I was happy coming home to my wife Sorrel and our 8-year-old daughter Nira, cooking dinner together and spending weekends at the park. But, apparently, that wasn't enough. Sorrel and I had been married for 12 years. We met in college, both studying computer science, though she switched to business administration in her junior year. She was always the more driven one between us, constantly talking about climbing the corporate ladder, making connections, and maximizing opportunities. I admired that about her, even if I didn't share the same hunger. "Ronan, you're too comfortable," she'd say, rolling her eyes when I'd turn down overtime or refuse to schmooze at company parties. "You could be a team lead by now, maybe even a director, but you just settle." I'd laugh it off. "I'm happy, Sorrel, isn't that what matters? I make good money, I'm home for dinner with you and Nira. We have a nice house." "Happy?" She'd interrupt, her voice sharp. "This isn't happiness, Ronan. This is mediocrity." Those conversations became more frequent over the past 2 years, especially after she started working at Pinnacle Marketing Solutions as their head of client relations. Her boss, Richard Blackwood, was everything I apparently wasn't. Aggressive, wealthy, ambitious to a fault. Sorrel would come home talking about his latest business acquisitions, his luxury cars, his penthouse downtown. "Richard closed a $2 million deal today," she'd announce over dinner, her eyes bright with admiration. "He's taking the whole team to that new steakhouse on Fifth Avenue to celebrate." Nira would look up from her mac and cheese. "Can Daddy come too?" Sorrel's smile would falter. "No, sweetheart. It's just for work people." I should have seen the signs. The late nights, the weekend strategy meetings, the way she'd light up whenever her phone buzzed with a message from Richard. But I trusted her. I loved her. I thought our family meant more than whatever midlife crisis she was going through. The end came on a rainy Thursday evening in October. I was in the Kitmax making Nira's favorite pancakes for dinner when Sorrel walked in, her designer heels clicking against the hardwood floor. She looked nervous, fidgeting with her wedding ring. "Ronan, we need to talk." Nira was in the living room watching cartoons, so I kept my voice low. "What's wrong?" Sorrel took a deep breath, her hands shaking slightly. "I'm leaving you." The spatula slipped from my hand, clattering to the floor. "What?" "I can't do this anymore, Ronan. I can't pretend that this life is enough for me. I've been seeing Richard." The words hit me like a physical blow. I gripped the counter to steady myself. "How long?" "6 months." Her voice was barely a whisper. I didn't plan for it to happen, but 6 months? I stared at her, trying to process what she was saying. "Sorrel, what about Nira? What about our marriage?" "Nira will understand when she's older. And our marriage." She shrugged, avoiding my eyes. "It's been over for a while, hasn't it? We're different people, Ronan. Richard understands me. He challenges me. He wants to build something great. And I don't. You're content to stay at the same job forever, making the same salary, living the same boring life. Richard has vision. He's opening a new office in Vancouver, expanding internationally. He asked me to move there with him." My legs felt weak. I sank into a Kitmax chair, staring at this woman I'd loved for 15 years. "What about Nira? She'll stay with you during the school year. I'll take her for summers and holidays." Sorrel's voice was businesslike now, as if she was discussing a contract negotiation. "I've already talked to a lawyer. I'm not asking for alimony. Richard makes more than enough to support me. I just want to split our assets fairly and move on." "Move on." I repeated the words, tasting their bitterness. Just like that. Just like that. She pulled her wedding ring off and set it on the counter. I'll pack my things this weekend while you take Nira to your parents. I think a clean break is best for everyone. That night, after Sorrel went to bed in the guest room, I sat in Nira's room, watching her sleep. How was I supposed to explain to an 8-year-old that her mother was leaving us for her boss? That our family was falling apart because I wasn't ambitious enough? Nira stirred and opened her eyes. Daddy, why are you sad? I brushed a tear from my cheek, not realizing I'd been crying. Just thinking, sweetheart. Go back to sleep. Is Mommy leaving? Kids are more perceptive than we give them credit for. I couldn't lie to her. Yeah, baby, she is. Nira sat up and hugged me tight. It's okay, Daddy. I don't want to go to Vancouver anyway. It's too cold there. That broke me. I held my daughter and cried quietly into her hair, promising myself that I'd never let anyone hurt her like this again. The divorce proceedings were swift and civil. Sorrel was true to her word. She didn't ask for alimony or try to take Nira away from me permanently. She wanted her freedom more than she wanted a fight. Within 3 months, she was gone, living in Richard's downtown penthouse while they planned their move to Vancouver. Nira handled it better than I expected, though I caught her staring out the window sometimes, as if waiting for Sorrel to come home. I threw myself into being the best single father I could be. I took Nira to school every morning, helped with homework every night, attended every soccer game and school play. But at work, something had changed in me. Sorrel's words echoed in my mind constantly. You're too comfortable. You just settle. This is mediocrity. Maybe she was right. Maybe I had been settling. I started staying late, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I began studying the company's financials, understanding the business side of our operations. I volunteered for projects I'd previously avoided, spoke up in meetings where I'd once stayed silent. My manager, Janet, noticed the change. Ronan, I don't know what's gotten into you lately, but I like it. Your productivity is up 40% this quarter. Just trying to grow, I said, the words feeling foreign in my mouth. Well, keep it up. There's a senior architect position opening up next month. You should apply. For the first time in my career, I did more than just apply. I campaigned for it. I prepared presentation after presentation, stayed late to mentor junior developers, and made myself indispensable to every major project. When the promotion came through, along with a substantial raise, I felt something I'd never experienced before: hunger. But the real change started when I began researching Richard's company. Pinnacle Marketing Solutions looked impressive on the surface. Sleek website, high-profile clients, Richard's face plastered across industry magazines as a visionary leader. But when I dug deeper, using skills I'd developed over years of debugging complex systems, a different picture emerged. Their financial reports showed aggressive expansion funded by increasingly risky investments. Richard had leveraged the company heavily to fund his lavish lifestyle and rapid growth. Several smaller companies they'd acquired were bleeding money. Most telling of all, they'd been losing major clients over the past 6 months due to overcommitment and under-delivery. Pinnacle wasn't the golden goose Sorrel thought it was. It was a house of cards, and Richard Blackwood was running out of tricks to keep it standing. That's when the idea first occurred to me. Crazy, impossible, but oddly compelling. I called my old college roommate Joel Kim, who'd gone into investment banking after graduation. We met for drinks at our usual spot, a dive bar near the waterfront. Dave, hypothetically, if someone wanted to acquire a company like Pinnacle Marketing Solutions, what would that look like? Joel nearly choked on his beer. Ronan, what the hell are you talking about? You're a software engineer, not a corporate raider. Humor me. He set down his drink and studied my face. You're serious, aren't you? What's this about? I told him everything. About Sorrel, about Richard, about the divorce and Nira. and the burning need I felt to prove that I was more than just a comfortable, unambitious husband. Joel listened without interruption, then leaned back in his booth. Ronan, what you're describing, it's not impossible, but it's incredibly risky. You'd need significant capital, a team of lawyers, business advisors. But could it be done? Maybe, if the company is as financially unstable as you think, and if you could put together the right offer. He paused. But even if you pulled it off, then what? You'd own a struggling marketing company with no experience running that kind of business. Then I'd learn. Something in my voice must have convinced him, because Joel's expression shifted. You know what? Let me make some calls. I know people who specialize in distressed acquisitions. If you're really serious about this. I'm serious. Over the next 6 months, my life became a carefully orchestrated double existence. By day, I was still a devoted single father, making Nira breakfast, dropping her off at school, helping with homework. But after she went to bed, I became someone else, a man studying market reports, financial statements, and acquisition strategies until 2 a.m. Joel introduced me to Patricia Vance, a sharp-eyed corporate attorney who specialized in hostile takeovers. Your ex-husband's target is vulnerable, she told me after reviewing my research, but you'll need about $15 million to make a credible offer, plus operating capital to stabilize the company afterward. Where am I supposed to get that kind of money? That's where it gets interesting. Patricia slid a folder across her desk. You own 40% of a house worth $800,000. Your salary and bonuses last year put you in a good position for business loans. But more importantly, I've found 3 investors who are very interested in backing a play like this. The investors were a group of tech entrepreneurs who'd made their fortunes in the late 90s .com boom and were looking for acquisition opportunities. When I pitched them my plan, acquire Pinnacle, streamline their operations using modern tech solutions, and leverage my software expertise to modernize their service delivery, they were intrigued. It's ballsy, said the lead investor, a woman named Angela Reese, who'd sold her startup to Google for $300 million. But the fundamentals are sound. Richard Blackwood has been coasting on reputation for too long. That company needs fresh leadership and modern systems. The deal came together faster than I'd expected. Patricia structured it as a leveraged buyout. The investors would provide the majority of the capital in exchange for equity, while I'd contribute my house as collateral and serve as CEO. If we succeeded, I'd own 35% of a revitalized company. If we failed, I'd lose everything. Nira noticed the change in me, though she couldn't put her finger on what was different. Daddy, you seem excited about something. Are you getting married again? No, sweetheart. Just working on a big project. Is it a secret? I knelt down to her level, looking into eyes that were so much like Sorrel's but filled with the innocence her mother had lost somewhere along the way. For now, yes. But if it works out, it might change things for us. Good changes? I hope so. The acquisition moved forward in secret. Richard had no idea that the RC Investment Group making an offer on his company was backed by his ex-wife's former husband. His arrogance worked in our favor. He assumed he could easily outmaneuver what he saw as opportunistic investors. Patricia's team found every weakness in Pinnacle's position. 3 major clients were threatening to leave due to service failures. 2 of their key acquisitions were hemorrhaging money. Richard had personally guaranteed several loans using company assets as collateral, putting the entire organization at risk if he defaulted. The final negotiations took place on a crisp December morning, exactly 1 year after Sorrel had left. I sat in Patricia's conference room, wearing my best suit and trying to project confidence I didn't entirely feel. Across the table, Richard Blackwood looked every inch the successful executive. Tailored clothes, expensive watch, perfectly styled hair. I'll be honest, he said, leaning back in his chair with practiced casualness. I'm not sure why you're so interested in acquiring Pinnacle. We're not exactly hurting for buyers. Patricia smiled coldly. Mr. Blackwood, let's dispense with the posturing. We both know your company is over-leveraged and underperforming. Our offer is fair given the circumstances. Your offer is insulting. Richard's mask slipped slightly. Pinnacle is a premier marketing firm with blue-chip clients and unlimited growth potential. Then, why are Johnson Associates, Meridian Corp., and Pacific Holdings all threatening to terminate their contracts? I spoke for the first time, watching Richard's face carefully. His eyes narrowed. How did you? He stopped himself, but it was too late. We've done our homework, Mr. Blackwood. The question is whether you want to negotiate a reasonable sale or wait for your creditors to force a fire sale. The negotiation dragged on for 3 hours. Richard fought every point, but the numbers didn't lie. In the end, faced with the choice between our offer and potential bankruptcy, he signed. As he gathered his papers, Richard looked at me with undisguised hostility. I don't know who you are, but you have no idea what you're getting into. Running a company like Pinnacle takes more than just money. I'll figure it out, I said calmly. He sneered. Good luck. You'll need it. After Richard left, Patricia shook my hand. Congratulations, Ronan. You're now the majority owner of Pinnacle Marketing Solutions. The reality didn't hit me until I was driving home to pick up Naira from school. I'd done it. The unambitious, comfortable husband who settled for mediocrity had just acquired his ex-wife's boyfriend's company. But I wasn't done yet. The first few months as CEO were brutal. I had to learn an entirely new industry while stabilizing a company that was hemorrhaging money and talent. I hired a COO with marketing experience to handle day-to-day operations while I focused on the technology integration that would differentiate us from competitors. We invested heavily in data analytics and automation tools, allowing us to deliver better results for clients at lower costs. The 3 clients who'd been threatening to leave not only stayed but expanded their contracts. Word spread quickly in the industry. Pinnacle under new management was delivering results that other firms couldn't match. Nira was incredibly patient with my long hours and frequent travel, but I made sure to prioritize her needs. I hired a wonderful nanny, Mrs. Rodriguez, who became like a grandmother to Nira. Every Sunday was still our day. No work, no phone calls, just father and daughter time. Daddy, Nira said one Sunday while we were building a fort in the living room. Are you happier now? It was a perceptive question from a 9-year-old. Yeah, sweetheart. I think I am. Good. You were sad for a long time after Mommy left. Are you happy? She considered this seriously. I miss Mommy sometimes, but I like it when you smile more. That's when I knew I was on the right path. The news of Richard's departure from Pinnacle spread through the business community quickly. Sorrel called me for the first time in months, her voice tight with confusion and anger. Ronan, what the hell is going on? Richard says he sold the company, but he won't tell me who bought it. How is Vancouver treating you? I asked, genuinely curious. Don't change the subject. Did you have something to do with this? I leaned back in my new office chair, looking out the window at the Seattle skyline. Actually, yes, I bought the company. Silence. Then, that's impossible. Is it? I thought you said I wasn't ambitious enough. Ronan, this isn't funny. Richard is talking about lawsuits, about corporate espionage. Sorrel, your boyfriend made a series of poor business decisions and found himself in an untenable financial position. I made him a fair offer for his company. It's all perfectly legal. You don't understand. Richard had plans, expansions, the Vancouver office. Had plans, past tense. I kept my voice level, professional. I'm afraid those plans are off the table now. Another long silence. What does this mean for us? For our arrangement? Nothing changes regarding Nira. You're still her mother. You still have visitation rights. But your plans to relocate to Vancouver with Richard? Well, that's between you and him. I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line. I can't believe you did this. Neither can I, to be honest. But it turns out I'm more ambitious than either of us thought. She hung up without saying goodbye. 2 weeks later, Sorrel returned to Seattle. Richard, faced with the collapse of his expansion plans and significant personal financial losses, had ended their relationship. She was staying with her sister while she figured out her next steps. Neera was thrilled to have her mother back in the same city, though she was old enough now to understand that her parents weren't getting back together. Sorrel and I maintained a cordial relationship for Naira's sake, but the dynamic had fundamentally shifted. I underestimated you, Sorrel admitted during one of our custody exchanges. I didn't think you had this in you. Neither did I. Are you happy now? You got your revenge. I considered her question seriously. This wasn't about revenge, Sorrel. It was about proving something to myself, about showing Naira that her father isn't someone who just settles. And Richard? What happens to him? He'll land on his feet. Men like Richard always do. I paused. But he'll never underestimate the quiet guy in the corner again. A year later, Pinnacle Marketing Solutions was thriving. We'd doubled our client base, opened 2 new offices, and I'd been featured on the cover of Seattle Business Magazine as Tech Executive of the Year. Neera, now 10, would sometimes come to the office after school, doing homework in my conference room while I finished meetings. "Daddy," she said one afternoon, looking up from her math problems, "do you think Mommy is proud of you now?" It was a complicated question. Sorrel had found a new job at a smaller marketing firm and seemed to be rebuilding her life. We'd even managed to have a few pleasant conversations during Naira's school events. "I don't know, sweetheart, but I'm proud of myself, and I hope you're proud of me too." "I am." She went back to her homework, then looked up again. "Daddy? What does ambitious mean?" I smiled, remembering the night Sorrel had called me unambitious, the way those words had cut deep and ultimately changed everything. "It means you're not afraid to dream big and work hard to make those dreams come true." "Then you're the most ambitious person I know." Coming from my daughter, those words meant more than any business award or magazine cover ever could. The divorce had taken everything I thought I knew about myself and shattered it. But from those pieces, I'd built something new. Not just a successful company, but a stronger relationship with Naira and a confidence I'd never possessed before. Sorrel had been right about one thing. I had been settling, but not anymore. Sometimes, the greatest gift someone can give you is showing you exactly who you're capable of becoming. Sorrel thought she was leaving me for someone better, someone more ambitious, someone who wouldn't settle for an ordinary life. Instead, she'd awakened something in me I never knew existed. Richard Blackwood, learn the hard way that you should never underestimate the quiet guy who pays attention to details and refuses to give up. Sorrel learned that ambition isn't always loud and flashy. Sometimes it's patient and strategic and absolutely devastating when it finally strikes. And I learned that the most important approval I needed was my own. 2 years after the acquisition, I received an invitation to speak at a business conference about unexpected leadership transitions. As I stood on that stage, looking out at an audience of executives and entrepreneurs, I thought about the journey that had brought me there. Success, I told them, isn't about avoiding failure or playing it safe. It's about recognizing when your comfortable life is actually holding you back from becoming who you're meant to be. In the audience, I spotted Sorrel sitting in the back row. She'd aged well, looked more relaxed than I'd seen her in years. After my speech, she approached me at the reception. "That was impressive," she said. "You've really found your voice." "Thank you. I want you to know I'm sorry. About how I left, about the things I said." "I was cruel." I nodded. "We both said things we regret." "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't left? If I'd been more patient?" It was a question I'd stopped asking myself months ago. No, Sorrel, I don't. Because then Nira wouldn't have a father who knows he can overcome anything, and I wouldn't have learned what I'm truly capable of achieving. She smiled sadly. You really have changed. We both have. As she walked away, I felt a profound sense of closure. The angry, hurt man who'd watched his wife leave him for her boss was gone. In his place was someone stronger, more confident, more ambitious than either Sorrel or Richard had ever imagined possible. That night, I tucked Nira into bed, and she asked her usual question, "Tell me about your day, Daddy." "Well," I said, settling into the chair beside her bed. "Today, I remembered that the best revenge isn't getting even with someone, it's becoming so successful that their opinion of you no longer matters. Is that what happened with Mommy and her old boss?" "Something like that." Nira yawned. "I'm glad you bought his company. Now you can help more people with their businesses." From the mouths of babes. My 10-year-old daughter understood something that had taken me 2 years to fully grasp. Success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. The unambitious husband who settled for mediocrity was gone forever. In his place was a father, entrepreneur, and leader who'd learned that sometimes you have to lose everything you thought you wanted to discover what you're truly capable of achieving. And that, I realized, was worth more than any marriage built on someone else's definition of success. What do you think about Ronan's transformation? Did he handle his situation the right way? Or should he have taken a different path? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow for more stories about overcoming life's biggest challenges.